The border between Canada and the United States is a key focal point for both countries right now. American President Donald Trump has used the flow of fentanyl and illegal immigrants into the U.S. as a justification to bring in tariffs. And the flow of trade over that line in both directions is essential to the entire drama playing out over tariffs. Canada's border agency and its workers are right in the middle of that action. We wanted to find out how their day-to-day lives are being affected by the shifting policies and the rhetoric. Mark Weber joins us now. He's a national president of the Customs and Immigration Union, which represents frontline employees of the CBSA. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, what are your members seeing at the border right now? Has anything changed from the time before Donald Trump started talking about tariffs?
Yeah, things have definitely shifted. We do see a decrease in traffic coming from the U.S., about a 25% decrease in shoppers going to the U.S. We are busier. More people are having to pay more duties and taxes. More people are getting sent into secondary. So we are definitely busier since all of this tariff talk.
Well, we heard last week that some travelers who have been in Michigan on the same-day shopping trips are being required to pay taxes to go into secondary when they would normally just sort of be waved through. So has CBSA been given any new or clear directives on this, or is there still discretion?
Well, that is the latest that we have, yes. And, of course, the tariff talk seems to shift every day. So CBSA employees, our members, are kind of waiting day by day to see how the landscape shifts. But that's where we're at right now, yes.
What should a Canadian expect to encounter on the way home if they do go over to Detroit to shop right now? Is there anything that can help travelers?
Have your declaration ready as always. Declare everything. Be ready for potential delays. There's a good chance that you do get sent into secondary. There's a good chance that you do have duties and taxes collected. But, above all, what we're hearing from travelers is that, I should have bought Canadian, right? Our members are very proud of the work that they're doing right now to protect Canadian industry. It's really important that this be done right now. And, the wave of patriotism that we're seeing from travelers at the border is really impressive to see.
What are you hearing, or what are they hearing at the border?
They're hearing, actually, thanks for the job that you're doing. Thanks for being there for Canada, for Canadian industry, and an acknowledgement from people traveling that, I should be doing everything I can to buy Canadian.
How do you feel about the level of support the CBSA is getting from the federal government?
It's there. We heard the $1.3 billion announcement. We're not sure exactly where all of that's going to go. We're really focused on getting more staff. I think that's really what's needed at most of our ports of entry. So we're hoping that a good percentage of that money goes toward hiring and training more officers.
And if you do train officers, my understanding is it takes 18 months to train and then a year of apprenticeship. So that would mean at least 2.5 years away from more staff. What would you do in the interim?
Yeah, the training program is 18 weeks and then another year apprenticeship. It is long, but you got to start somewhere, right? We need a second training center desperately. I know there's areas around Windsor that have been proposed that would work very well. But you've got to start somewhere to build that capacity. Right now, the maximum number we could train is about the same number as we lose through attrition every year. So it's really difficult to get our numbers up.
And the provincial government has also been making investments at the border security. How does that look at the ports of entry here in southwestern Ontario?
Yeah, so, in Windsor, the OPP is offered to help with export checks, which they have come to us and asked to help with, which we're doing. We kind of gave them a crash course in how things work at the border. That's been helpful. We've not found much through those export checks, which really speaks to a lot of the hyperbole we've heard coming out of the U.S. as being false, which we knew it was when we heard what they were saying was coming into the U.S. from Canada. But yeah, the provincial authorities have been there to help. It's all hands on deck. It's been really impressive to see.
You mentioned it there, but I do want you to expand on that because I want you to take us back to when you first heard President Donald Trump's perception of border security and what it was like. What was your reaction to what you were hearing?
Like with most things he says, most of our first reaction was to laugh. And then as we realized that he was actually trying to, put this forward as reality, it's really concerning, right? We've heard numbers being used of 200,000 illegal entries into the U.S. from Canada. He's added a zero. It's really closer to about 21,000 for 2024. We heard about the scourge, the oceans of fentanyl coming into the U.S. from Canada. The U.S. seized in 2024 about 20 kilograms of fentanyl coming from Canada to the U.S. compared to about 1,200 kilograms of illegal drugs coming from the U.S. into Canada. The reality is that the problem is really the other way around. It's what's coming into Canada from the U.S., and on top of the drugs we see coming in, it's the illegal firearms that are almost all coming from the U.S. that are a real concern. So, glass half full, all of that negative and all of the dishonesty we've heard coming from the U.S. has really focused Canada on our border and focused us on the real issue, which is keeping Canadians safe.
I'm also wondering, it must be very, very frustrating to try and get that message across to deaf ears.
There's been more and more buy-in. I've done, I don't know how many dozens of interviews over this since it became a hot topic. And I have heard the dialogue change. I've heard the questions change. I think there's a general understanding, even in the U.S., that most of what is being said by the United States administration about how the border works and what's coming into the U.S. is really, I don't want to say completely false, but tremendously exaggerated.
We also saw the government respond with technology once again. So we saw drones and helicopters. How effective are those in actually detecting drugs and guns crossing the border?
A drone could see it happening. You need the people on the ground to actually do the interdiction, though. And again, it's thousands of kilometers. It's the longest undefended border in the world, right? So it takes a lot of people, it takes a lot of resources. Technology helps, but you still need the people on the ground to do that work. And one of the big things that we're pushing for is to allow our CBSA officers to do that work between ports of entry. Right now, we're limited to operating at the port. If we see someone crossing, right down the road, we can't do anything right now. We have to call the RCMP to come assist, which really it's within our mandate to do. I think the CBSA needs to really start doing that work as well.
We reported on an American family crossing the border and seeking asylum in Canada. Has there been any noticeable uptick in that kind of thing from what you've heard?
Not really, no. We've heard ad hoc, a couple ports in Quebec that we've heard individual members say they think they've seen an uptick, but numbers-wise, no, nothing's been reported in terms of an increase. I think, part of that is really, it's possible that Americans looking to make a claim in Canada might be worried that if the claim is denied in Canada, they're sent right back to the U.S. where they would likely be picked up by ICE and deported immediately. So I think there might be a little bit of fear there in terms of what happens if their Canadian claim is not successful.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
All right, anytime. Thank you.
Mark Weber is the national president of the Customs and Immigrations Union.